Hello and welcome to another Excel tips video. I am Sumit Bansal, and in this video I am going to show you 3 simple ways to quickly remove drop-down lists in Excel. I will also cover a couple of advanced techniques that will allow you to quickly select all the cells that have data validation rules in it. So let's get started. Here I have the employee names, and in column B, I have their department names. And to select the department name, I have the drop down. So if you click on the cell, then you will see this drop down arrow. And when you click on it, it is going to show you the options from which you can select. So here I have these 4 options. And I have created this drop down list using the data here in another sheet. So I have this list with the department names, and then I have used these names to create this drop down. So this is why when you see these options, you will see these 4 options which are from this source list. Now, if I want to remove the drop down list from here, the easiest and probably the best way to do it is to go back to the data validation dialog box and clear the drop down list. So drop down list is actually a kind of data validation rule, and there is a specific data validation dialog box that is used to apply the drop down. So if I want to remove this, I'm going to go back to the data validation dialog box and remove this. So to do that, I'm going to select all the cells that have the drop down that I want to remove. Then I'm going to go to the data tab here in the ribbon, and in the data tools, I have this data validation icon. And when I click on it, it opens the data validation dialog box. And here in the settings tab is the option where I can remove these drop downs. So you can see as of now, it says allow list, which is the drop down list. And this is the source that I've used to create these drop downs. And here I have this clear all option. So when I click on clear all and click OK, the drop downs are gone. So what it has done is it has only removed all the data validation rules, but it has not changed the cell. So if there are some options that I selected from the drop down, some of the cells are already filled with those options, those are not removed. The formatting is not gone. Everything remains the same. Only the drop down is removed. So this is the best way to do it. But let me show you 2 more ways to do it quickly. Now, let me press Ctrl Z to get back the drop downs. Now, if you want to quickly remove everything from here, so you do not want the data that has been selected, you do not want the formatting, if you just want to remove everything and start from a blank slate, then what you can do is select the cells that have the drop down, then go to the Home tab, and here in the editing group, you have clear option, and then you click on clear all. And when you do that, it is going to remove everything, including the formatting, including the text which is already there, everything. See what happens when I click on clear all, everything is gone. And I have completely blank slate. If you want to remove everything and start afresh, then this is the option you can use. Let me press Ctrl Z to go back again. And the last option that I want to show you is a simple copy paste method. Now what happens is when you copy a cell and you paste it over cell that already has a drop down list, the data validation rule from the copied cell is also copied on the destination cells. For example, in this case, if I select cell D2, which is empty, it has nothing, I copy it and I come here and I paste this cell over these cells, then the drop down list would be gone because this does not have any drop down list in it. See what happens when I press Ctrl V and I paste it. This cell has been copied over it because there was no text in it, no formatting. It is essentially, it means that I have actually cleared everything. So this is a fast way to do it. In case, let's say you want to keep the formatting, you only want to remove the drop down. What you can do is you select this cell, then you select these cells that have the drop down, right click, go to paste special, and here you say only copy the validation. And now when I click OK, the formatting remains, the text remains, but only the data validation rule from this cell is copied. And because there were no drop down list in this cell, when I copied it on this range, these also now do not have any drop down list. So these are 3 simple methods you can use. The best one, as I said, is to go back to data validation dialog box. But then these 2 other methods are also quite fast. You can either clear all or you can simply copy any blank cell and the drop downs would be removed. Now let me show you 2 advanced ways to select all the drop downs in your worksheet. Here I have 3 lists where I have the employee name and the department here in the first list. Then I have a different set of employee names, but I have the same department drop down list. So if you come here and you click on it, you will see these four options. And if you come here, you again see the same 4 options here. And then I have the same list of employee names where the same names here, but I have a different drop down list. So if you click on it, you will see a yes and a no. And the drop down list here uses the source list here where I have the department names in a different sheet. Now, what I want to do is I want to remove drop down list from the entire worksheet. Now, in this case, I already know where the drop downs are, but there is a possibility that if you inherit a workbook from someone else or you download a workbook from somewhere, you may not know where the drop down list options are. It has been applied here, but unless you select a cell, you may not know. There is a possibility this cell may have a drop down list, but unless I select it, I will not see the drop down icon. So if you want to remove all the drop down list from the worksheet, let me show you two really simple ways to do it. First, I'm going to remove the drop down list that use the same source list. So in this case, these cells and these cells use the same source list, which means that if you select and click on the drop down icon, you are going to see the same options. So I'm going to first remove these two and show you how to do this. So to do that, I'm going to first select any cell in this list, in the range of cells where it has the drop down. Then I'm going to press the F5 key on my keyboard. And when I do that, it opens the Go To dialog box. And here, when I click on Special, it opens the Go To Special dialog box. You can also get the same thing if you go to the Home tab, and here in Editing, you click on Find and Select, and then click on Go To Special. So this opens the same Go To Special dialog box. Now here, I have this option called Data Validation, and within that, I have two options, all and Same. Now in this case, because I want to remove drop down, which is the same kind of drop down, that is the department names, I would click on Same. And now when I click OK, it is going to first check what's the drop down in the cell that I've selected. So in this case, I've selected B2. It is going to check what is the source list or what is the kind of drop down that is there in cell B2, and then select all the cells that have the same drop down. See what happens when I click OK. It selects these two columns because these have the same drop down. Now, if I want to remove these, I can go to the Data tab and here click on Data Validation icon and then click on Clear All. So this is one way to remove the drop down, which is the same kind of drop down from all the cells. No matter where these drop downs are in the worksheet, this method is going to select all the cells with the same drop down. Now, what if I don't just want to remove this drop down? What if I want to remove all the drop downs in my worksheet? So to do that, again, I'm going to press the F5 key, then click on Special. And here I'm going to click on Data Validation and have the All option selected. And when I do that, and when I click OK, all the cells that have data validation rules would be selected. And drop down list is a type of data validation rule. So all the cells that have drop down list would automatically be selected. See what happens when I click OK. All these three columns are selected. These have different drop downs, but doesn't matter. Everything is selected, and you do not even need to select any cell to begin with. You can be anywhere in the worksheet. You can select any cell, but when you use these steps, it is going to select all the cells that have data validation in it. And now once I have these selected, to remove these, I can go to the Data tab and here click on Data Validation. When I click on it, it shows me this dialog box which says that because there are different types of drop down selected, in case you continue, these would be lost. But anyway, I want to remove these. So I'm going to click on OK. Now the drop downs have not been removed so far. If I want to remove the drop down, I would have to click on Clear All and then click OK. If I close the dialog box as of now, the drop downs would still remain. So now when I click on Clear All and then click OK, all the drop downs are gone. So if you have a worksheet that has a lot of drop downs and you want to quickly remove all these, instead of going and selecting each one of these, what you can do is select all the drop downs based on whether they are based on a specific rule or all the drop downs in general, and then remove it. Now there is one final thing I want to show you. In most cases, people want to remove the drop down list because they want to enter something else in this list, and these are not consistent. So these could be random text comments. And if there is a drop down list already, it would not be allowed. For example, if I come here and I type something like test and I try and hit enter, it is going to show me this prompt, this error message, which says this value does not match the data validation restriction. So it is not going to allow you to do that. You can retry, you can try and enter something else, which is the same. So if I come here and I type sales, it will allow that because it is already there in the drop down, but anything which is not there in the drop down would not be allowed. Now, what if you do not want to remove the drop down, but just want the ability to enter something in here, which would also be accepted? So in that case, what you can do is instead of removing the drop down, we simply tweak the rule a little. So I'm going to select these cells that have the drop down. I'm going to go to the Data tab and click on the Data Validation dialog box. And when I click on it, it opens this option here, and that I have the Error Alert tab in Data Validation. So we selected the drop down here in the settings tab, you go to the error alert tab, and here you have the option show error alert after invalid data is entered. So what happens is it shows you an alert, but it also stops you from entering anything else. So what I'm going to do is, if you'd want, you can keep the show error alert option, but here I'm going to say instead of stop, make this maybe warning or informational. Or what you can do is you can simply say do not show any error alert, just allow the entry as is. So what happens is, see what happens when I click OK and I come here, I still have the drop down, but if I want to enter something else, maybe I want to enter, let's say, training, it is going to allow me to enter this despite having the drop down. So I have two advantages. I can either select from the drop down or I can manually enter it. Let me show you other option there that was there. So I go to the data tab, click on the data validation dialog box. And here, if you click on show error alert, but I do not stop it, I say just show an information or show a warning. See what happens when I come here and I try and enter anything, it is going to allow it, but it is going to show me a prompt. So it says this value does not match the data validation restriction, but if you want to continue, you can do it. So when I click on yes, it allows me to have the value. So either you can just allow a blanket allow where any value is allowed in the cell that have the drop down, or you can have a prompt that informs the user that the value is different, but it would still allow you to enter that value. So this may be needed when you need the drop down as well as the ability to manually enter anything in the cells. That's it in this video. I hope you found this useful. Also, if you're liking these videos, please subscribe to this YouTube channel and click on the bell icon so that you never miss out on any new Excel tips video I come up with. Thank you and have a nice day.